Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to start continuing the reading of my script from page 11 of An Expulsion. And I'll first just mention a few of the pictures. This would be the stairway to the second floor in the Wren building at William and Mary. I took this picture in 2011 when we had an event down there with William and Mary Gala, which had formed in the 1980s as things had changed a lot. And that's the stair I would have climbed. And then that's the side room, the view from, um, that's a view from the north, I think. The dean's office was somewhere over in there. And that's the part of the of the Wren building looks out over the sunken garden. And there's Tribe Day. That was 2022. That's on the campus. And then the film will go to Charlotte, North Carolina, to visit a family. Of course, that's taken in 2011. This is 1961. But there's an obelisk in the area in southeast of downtown near where this family lived. And that's a layout of the house floor plan, which is interesting because there's a phone call that occurs, and the owner of the home picks it up here and gives it to my father, and my mother is sitting out here, and she doesn't hear any of it. And it's located in a place in the house where it's very sinister how it looks at the end of a hallway. And so he doesn't have to tell her what the call is about, which generates a lot of tension. And it was a white phone, but this is a picture of the red phone from the U.S. Army Museum in Fort Belvoir. I didn't have a picture of old phone easily, but that makes the point. That's the red phone in Pentagon or something. So that's even more sinister. And I had to walk past that area back to Duke of Gloucester Street, and my father picked me up here to put me in the car to give me some bad news. I still remember that. And that's my house. So let me go to the screenplay itself. And we're on page 11. Exterior, it's in the middle of the page. Exterior William and Mary campus Wren building yard in the evening. Around 5 p.m., the weather is misty, but it's not cold. It's about 60 degrees. Darkness is setting in. It's only another month until the winter solstice. Um, Bill strides past the Wren building yard entrance down Boundary Street to the porch in front of the Brown Hall. It's about 700 feet. The red and orange of late fall foliage are still visible in the depths. He hurries up the steps onto the porch. Inside, he spots two Playboy rags, one of them left open into a nude photo. That's from the previous scene. He pushes his way into the hall, up the stairs to a second floor, and passes two other students who start to giggle as he retreats from them and approaches his own room. He sees a folded piece of paper, blank on the outside, taped the door at eye level. But not another dirty note. He pulls it down, reads it in feminine cursive ink penmanship as follows. We found unprescribed patent medicines in your room during a recent room inspection. Please report immediately to see the dean of men at the Wren building, second floor. So this is the meeting that essentially will change the course of my life and one of the most important moments in my whole life. November 24th, 1961, a Friday after Thanksgiving, and the campus had been open for class on Friday. They didn't go home for Thanksgiving. Bill enters the quiet room. Silent clock radio is still in place, and there are a couple of notebooks. His closed closet door is closed. He spots a framed photo of Silas' maid upper bunk, and a photo represents the girlfriend. Bill opens the lower drawer on his dresser, pulls out the yearbook and scrapbook intact. He looks at one envelope below with the original notes from move-in day. He picks up two other little notes that he had torn off and hidden away. The old Soul, Golden Genius, and Blowjobs 25 cents. He blinks, puts them back, and closes the dresser, so he doesn't take those notes with him. He stuffs the current note and two medicines, the iodine and glycerin, and the niacin bottle in his pocket. He also takes a little Rolade pack, pulls off one tablet, and bites off a piece. He feels he might start to feel nauseated, I guess. Bill quickly changes shirts from an orange one black back to gray. He then hurries out, closes the door, down the steps, and passes the same two students who stare. He runs out this door quickly and navigates 700 feet to the Wren building. Interior Wren building moments later. Bill approaches the entrance and finds it left ajar. He enters and spots a receptionist at the desk near the door. We have you working late. They have you working this late the day after Thanksgiving. Dean Burns is waiting for you upstairs. Then go right. Bill hustles up the stairs, which fold back, and enters the dark corridor with minimal right. Two doors down, he finds the one milk glass door that reads Carlton Burns, Dean and Van, and taps. Please come in. Bill enters and sees the moon-faced Carlton Burns seated behind a power desk lit by a green lamp with a drawstring switch. Thank you for coming in on such short notice. Please have a seat. Sir, I presume this is about the medicines. Bill pulls out the iodine bottle and niacin spray atomizer and puts it on the corner of the desk. You can show these to the campus doctor. I had strep one Sunday night at the end of October. He gave me a shot and it went away. That's fine, Bill. Mr. Bullet said, okay, Bill. Bill takes the medications and stuff them back in his left pants pocket. Yeah, my roommate mentioned there had been an inspection one day a couple days ago, but I never heard anything more about it from the college or the dorm counselors. Oh, yeah, Mr. Gates, Silas. Look, well, okay, I see you got straight A's from midterm grades. You can make the other guys in the dorm feel intimidated even without trying. Carlton coughs. A couple B's might not hurt, seriously. Yeah, Silas told me an old wives' tale one night in the darkness a couple weeks ago after we went to bed, and he said he wanted to move out. But things seem to have settled down around the end of October when all of us went to see Splendor in the Grass, which is a film, by the way, about mental illness in teens from 1961. Generally, how do you feel you're getting along with the guys in the dorm? I'm concerned about it. They seem to be trying to compel me to join them. Sounds weird, but they seem to think if I prove I can approach a woman, that means anyone can. They can feel more self-confident. They seem to have an instinct that works automatically without thought. For me, the brain takes over. Pretty interesting take. Carlton shuffles some more papers. They make a big deal of my skipping the hazing. I'll bet they did. Now tell me, you have your own bedroom at home. Yes, only child. Interesting. Mother said one time they considered adopting a sister for me when she couldn't have more than children. My father took out a mortgage on a free and clear house to support the new building for the church downtown. Like, not in sync, but as for you, I don't respond to pictures of naked women. Silas kept saying that. He accused me of being a homosexual because I wear brightly colored shirts. But so does my father. They are Czech. It doesn't settle it. Silas and I have the same English teacher, different sections. You know, that colorful Dabney guy. He's a catalyst or provocateur for your roommate conversations. He's assigned T.S. Eliot and Love Song of Prufrock with all the talk about sexual impotence when immobilized on a table, and then the Connell story, Most Dangerous Game, that puts brains against brawn. Book smarts over street smarts. So I found I would identify with associating with men who have both at the same time. Not many men do. My roommate doesn't. And I don't. Well, I look in the other direction, but that's not asking too much. Carlson taps his pencil. I did find I could respond around a couple of men well, just one in particular I made friends with and graduated from high school. No one in the dorm. It's rare. I've never admitted this directly to anyone in the dorm, but I do tease them back with what if. One Saturday afternoon, I was muttering to myself, homosexual on the loose when showering. Someone could have heard it. Unwise. So yeah, you could say I see myself as a latent homosexual. There's a book called Facts of Life and Love at home and a den bookcase that defined the term. Well, I'm glad to see you confided this in me and that you have admitted this to yourself. Now, where are your parents this weekend? Are they home? They were here Thanksgiving Day, and drove out to friends, and they then drove out to friends in Charlotte, North Carolina today. They should be there by now. The family is Earl Smith. They live on Tinkerbell Lane. I remember that from a family trip in sixth grade. Carlton takes notes like it was dictation. I'll call information right after you leave. Hope he's not unlisted. I'll try long distance tonight, maybe around 8 o'clock or so. I have your dorm number. This may surprise him, create carnage. Don't worry about it this weekend. We won't ask you to leave school or anything like that. Bill gets up. Okay, we're done. Yes, we're good now. Bill leaves the stairs immediately and runs out the front door, now closed. The receptionist is gone and the lower room dark. Interior, exterior. It's a Smith's home in Charlotte, North Carolina. The Ford Galaxy, driven by Jack and Margaret up front, navigates to the residential street southeast of downtown Charlotte, pulls up to the Smiths. The kitchen range clock says 8 p.m. Margaret, Earl Smith, Libby Smith, and teen daughter Bonnie have finished turkey and oyster dressing leftovers. They scrape off their plates into the disposal and bring mince pie dessert slices to a card table. Bonnie leaves for the evening when the outside car honks. Interior Smith's home, Charlotte, North Carolina, moments later. Mr. Reed board game shows the top view in the card table. Other board games, including Clue and Star Reporter, are stacked on the counter. A black and white TV silently broadcasting a story about the Berlin Wall and JFK. The camera now reemphasizes the layout of the one-floor house as if it were a Hitchcock mystery board game scenario itself. There's a hallway from the kitchen living area that intersects a back hallway in a perpendicular fashion. There are two bedrooms behind it, one more with a bath in front. A nightstand with a white rotary phone sits at the intersection point, but would not be visible from much of the living room, including the family's card table or the kitchen. And in Berlin, the Soviets remain intent, that's the TV anchor, sealing away the west half of the city. In doing so, actually, it should be the east half of the city is what it was. In doing so, they're sealing the west half away from the East Berlin. That's what they were actually doing. In doing so, they continue to ignore President Kennedy's warning that force will be met with force. Ich bin ein Berliner. The white phone is ringing. Overhead, it can show it. Earl walks over and picks up the cradle. Long distance for a Mr. Biledson. Hello, Smith residence. An intercut to Dean Burns in his office. Mr. Smith, I'm told that Mr. Biledson is here by his son. He's playing, well, cards, sort of. I'll get him. Earl lays the cradle down on the nightstand and walks a few steps to be in sight of the three other adults. Jack, it's for you. Long distance. Jack tiptoes over as if the call were to be frivolous, and the simultaneous intercut continues. Mr. Biledson, this is Carlton Burns, Dean of Men at the college. William and Mary had an urgent meeting with your son, Bill, this evening. He informed me of your weekend travel. We do need to meet quickly. Well, you're visiting business, Lori, family, friends for the weekend. We could drive back to Williamsburg Sunday afternoon after church, long drive, 300 miles. I'll tell you what, could you meet at 9 p.m. Tuesday? That would be November 28th. Yes, let's just do just that. Good. I'll call the Williamsburg Inn and make paid reservations for you Monday night. The college will take care of it. Jack. And Bill? He's staying put in the dorm. We'll hash this out Tuesday morning. Don't worry. Have a good holiday weekend. Thanks. Interior of the Smith's home, Charlotte, continuous. Jack returns to the board game. Jack, the factory? Jack glances at Margaret, but Doesn't answer. My father was a manufacturer's representative for Imperial Glass, by the way, so that's what the factory refers to. Jack, where are we? Who strangled Aunt Cora in the orchid room? Interior, Smith's house, guest bedroom, night. Jack and Margaret settle into the guest bedroom, whose door is near the nightstand on the white phone. There's a queen and twin bed. Jack offers to sleep on the twin cot. So there's some tension between my parents over whether he's telling her everything. They unpack without conversation. Hours later, Margaret has left the bed. Jack then awakens to the sound of Margaret's vomiting in the distant bath. She hobbles back and climbs into bed. Jack stands. What? Yeah, I'll be okay. I know this doesn't happen often, even to Bill now. Exterior Charlotte baseball stadium area day. Jack rides out with Earl to the now empty Charlotte Hornets minor league baseball park. Looks like Libby's poached eggs have calmed Margaret's stomach okay. She says she's okay now. Yeah, the rest of us seem okay. When you here for Easter a few years, her Bonnie was sick. And then Bill had an upset stomach when we got home. That then a couple times in ninth grade. Then he settled down. Bill started coming out of his funk as a youngster. When he hit high school, had puberty. He had followed the Washington Senators. The minor league team I invested in is like their children, have to be raised up. So Bill was in high school, set up a backyard playground softball league for the neighborhood boys who were younger. He could compete with them. He and a friend in Ohio would make these pinball, cardboard, and wood stadiums. Margaret thought it was baby play. To me, it seemed like finally being a growing boy. But he hated it when the Senators lost. Well, now you've got the replacement team. The Senators are in Minnesota. That's when they moved in 1961, and we had a new team. I remember a day in August when they were winning a game in the ninth when a friend brought Bill home. It seemed like Bill was going to tell us something and didn't after the televised win took the tension out of the air. So, Jack, did you want to tell us something about the call tonight? Margaret didn't ask. I didn't tell, but I wondered about last night. The guy who called said Bill told him where you were, not anybody from your glass factory. Yes, I didn't want to mention I didn't want to mention Bill's college to Margaret. Oh, those days when we paneled your rec room and made the undersized ping pong table. And then, excuse me. Then those summers when we shared these sea mists at Ocean City, the duplexes, the ferries across the bay. And now they build a bay bridge. Bill got the measles one summer. That was before he fell behind in playground stuff and then made it up for it in later use with backyard softball. Jack looks out toward the outfield fence. Well, okay, the call was from William and Mary Dean of Men. We'll drive back to Williamsburg Monday rather than drive home. He could have gotten a girl in trouble. William and Mary is only one-third girls. So there could be an honor code thing, but he's really strict with himself. We weird him that way. So we can see that when he leaves, Margaret shouldn't have any more kids. Intercut. Carlton approaches President Patterson's offline with door open, overlooking the sunken garden. Thanks for seeing me on the weekend. This is about our chemistry honor student, Deletsit. Patterson standing motions for Carlton to leave and follows out. Let's go out on a holiday stroll on the sunken garden. They hustle down a stairway and step outside. The weather is clearing and some sun playing peekaboo, but the wind gusts will dilute their voices. The roommate Gates insisted on moving out, so I arranged a room in another dorm. His dad, Douglas, even called and insisted, to say the least. You felt like you had to call Mr. Beledson in suddenly. Got it. And call the parents, track them down, away themselves in North Carolina. They'll be here Tuesday. I hope we'd find a clinical psychologist to do an EMR on Bill Monday. Now, I told Bill not to worry. He'll probably expect to be called in again when he sees that he has the room to himself. You're holding back. The room inspection thing got him to come in, and he even bought a couple of meds, but I didn't buy it. He admitted that he was, as he calls them, label, a latent homosexual. You know, that's too bad. The smarter kids seem less manly. They don't have the instinct to chase women. But he actually said it. We can't allow him to even stay in a dorm with the other guys thinking they might be the one he could have the hots for. He insists he hasn't done anything and has no fantasy designs on anyone in the dorm. It's going to require a real doctor, a real psychiatrist to evaluate him. And you know they've got a bit of a racket. They won't let you go quickly. You'll have to be gone by Tuesday. Yeah, off the campus. Carlton, you just can't negotiate this new homeless stuff. Exterior Williamsburg Theater evening. Now, Bill's not too worried over the weekend because he's been told he won't have to leave school. Remember, the dean so lied. Bill and John buy tickets to Amy Vu Brahms. That's good again. And you can show the third movie. That's a clip where some Brahms is played from the Third Symphony. Outdoors, there are posters for an upcoming Hiroshima Mon Amour and a repertoire showing of The Most Dangerous Game. The Beletzits and Smiths Interior Large Sanctuary, Charlotte Day. The Beletzits and Smiths hear Percy Fletcher's organ toccata in C. As they leave a rather sparsely attended Thanksgiving service, the organ pipes are visible. Jack leads the approach to the pastor. We were here Easter a few years ago at Fritz Smith's. I remember in middle school, he watched the organist play the very organ piece to the conclusion, which he was here when he was here with you. He buys classical music records and fills out the rec room that Earl helped me finish. Still played the piano a lot too, until he left for William and Mary. He says he still gets into the piano room with new student friends sometimes, not his roommate. Margaret suddenly glances at Jack. We had the organist put on the Fletcher piece for the postlude for Bill because we thought he'd be here today. No, they had classes Thanksgiving Friday. We drove out. A lovely service. Thank you, Pastor Davis. Exterior church parking lot. Moments later, the Beletzits and Patrick catch up with the Smiths watching into the parking lot. Jack winks at Earl while Margaret looks away momentarily. Jack rejoins Margaret. Margaret will be swinging back to Williamsburg Monday tomorrow before going home. So the minister convinced you to tell me now. I went through this Friday night. The pastor says not to worry. Should we become grandparents after all? We want that. But Bill's never worked before. How could we support him? At this point, we'll stop this section, and then the third section will resume on page 23.